Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping straight into Jen Hatmaker's memoir, Awake.
Hmm.
And this book, well, it starts as this intensely personal story of heartbreak, but it ends up somewhere quite different, doesn't it? It becomes this powerful critique of systems.
Absolutely. It's a really potent mix.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to quickly pull out the core story for you. The emotional core, yes, but also that intellectual challenge woven through its 320 pages.
Exactly.
If you're looking for insight into how a major personal crisis can, force someone to publicly confront these really ingrained structures, this is it.
And I think what's fascinating for you, the listener, is how this isn't just another story about a tough transition. It uses that moment, that devastation, as a launch pad.
A launch pad to challenge things she'd lived by for decades.
Precisely. Cultural norms, religious rules. It required this complete rebuild, not just of her life, but like her whole way of seeing the world. We're going to unpack that.
Okay, so where does this journey start? It starts, like so many of these stories do, with just this incredibly intimate, almost catastrophic moment.
Yeah. The catalyst.
We need to pinpoint the exact moment, I think, because it sets the tone. The drama is just immediate. It was 2:30 a.m., July 11th, 2020. She wakes up.
And what she wakes up to. That's the detail that just detonates everything. 26 years of marriage, a very public life, gone.
What happened?
She's lying in bed. Her husband is next to her, and he's voice texting his girlfriend.
Wow.
Right there, that moment. It's the immediate, brutal break that launches the whole journey we read about in Awake.
26 years. Just shattered right then and there. That level of betrayal, so sudden, so close, you can feel how that heat shapes the entire book. And the writing captures it, apparently. The sources say it's beautifully written, shot through with deep emotion.
Yeah, and also finds these hilariously hard moments in the middle of the pain, which feels very real,
Totally. It puts you right there in that initial shock, that scramble.
And that ability to write about the raw pain, but still find a bit of humor, that makes it resonate. But like you said, the emotion is only part of it.
Right.
The shift into critiquing the system, that's where this deep dive really needs to focus, I think. It's what sets it apart from just, a standard celebrity divorce story.
Okay, let's unpack that transition then, because before we really get the scale of her intellectual reckoning, we need to understand the world she was in before this happened.
Exactly. The context is key.
It's not just about the marriage ending. It's about why that ending, for her specifically, was tied up with these cultural and professional structures, why it was so publicly devastating.
You've hit it. To really get the magnitude of this change, you have to know who Jen Hatmaker was before July 2020.
Right.
She wasn't just some blogger. She was a really established, influential voice, especially within a very specific world.
Yeah.
The evangelical Christian media scene.
Okay. Yeah. She went to Oklahoma Baptist University, became this well-known Christian author, speaker, reaching millions of people. And it wasn't just books and speaking, right? She had that HGTV show, My Big Family Renovation. So her whole public persona was deeply tied to this image of family faith.
A very visible, specific version of it. And her earlier books, they really highlight the contrast with Awake.
How so?
Well, think about titles like Seven, An Experimental Mutiny Against Excess, or Of Mess and Moxie. Wrangling delight out of this wild and glorious life.
Right. Those sound like finding grace, managing things.
Exactly. Wrangling delight within an accepted framework. Even the mutiny in Seven, it was about challenging consumerism, which is important, but still kind of within bounds.
But the mutiny in Awake, that's different.
Oh, vastly different. This new book coming out September 2025, it's about the painful, deliberate tearing down of that framework.
Okay.
It's about questioning the actual structures, not just how to live well inside them. She goes way beyond her old comfort zones, challenges the very idea of the kind of woman she was sort of expected to be.
So that's the pivot point. The personal heartbreak forces her to look back and ask, why did these structures I built my life and career on, why did they fail so badly? And why did they demand this kind of public perfection?
That is the crucial insight. The crisis wasn't just personal. It revealed a structural failure. The book explicitly scrutinizes the toxic systems that led to the end of her marriage.
And the sources specifically mention her learning to question the rules of the oppressively patriarchal U.S. church in which she grew up.
Yes. And that phrase, oppressively patriarchal U.S. church, we need to unpack that a bit for the listener conversationally. What does that actually mean in the context of her life in this memoir?
Good point. What systems is she critiquing?
Well, it means challenging very specific gender roles, expectations about how women should behave, especially publicly, in that religious space. We're talking about, the pressures of purity culture,
Okay.
theological ideas about female submission to male authority, both in the home and in the church leadership, and this intense pressure to maintain a flawless public image, a perfect Christian family.
So when the private life blows up, like her marriage did,
The system, the very structure she was part of, doesn't really offer grace, does it? It tends to offer judgment, scrutiny.
so the toxic systems aren't just abstract ideas, they're the rules that demanded she perform this kind of spiritual and domestic perfection, while also kind of positioning her as secondary to her husband in the male church hierarchy. It sounds like the structure that supported her public success was fundamentally unable to cope with her private reality when it fractured.
That's exactly it. When the disaster hit, the system she was so deeply embedded in, it wasn't a safety net. Often it felt like more pressure, more public judgment.
Right.
So Awake becomes this critique of what it costs to maintain that specific kind of public Christian celebrity persona, the cost of the performance, the limits placed on a woman's voice, her authority, her autonomy.
Especially, I imagine, as a divorced woman operating outside those prescribed roles now.
Precisely. She's challenging the limitations around who she's allowed to be.
And that shift from performing perfection to really digging into the theological reasons why that perfection was demanded, that seems like the real engine driving the memoir.
It is. But importantly, the book doesn't just leave you in the wreckage. It does move towards a sense of rebuilding, a roadmap for life after that deconstruction.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Where does it land? Having torn down the old rules, what does she offer someone reading this who might be going through their own upheaval or questioning their own systems?
Well, the core themes that come through are definitely hope and resilience. And interestingly, challenging limitations becomes a source of strength.
And community plays a big role too, right? The sources mentioned it's pitched as a love letter to friendship, family, and the power of community.
Yes, that's key. Because when the marriage failed and the institutional structures perhaps felt judgmental or unhelpful.
It was the friends, the family, the community that actually held her up.
Exactly. Those are the structures left standing. So the book functions almost like a guide, a roadmap, as one source puts it, showing how to cope, survive, and even thrive when all seems lost. There's a big emphasis on learning to trust your own intuition, your own inner voice, especially when the external rules have proven, well, unreliable or even harmful.
And it seems like that message resilience, finding your own way, that kind of untamed self-discovery, is hitting a nerve. The comparisons tell a story.
They do. When sources say it's perfect for fans of Untamed, that immediately places Awake in that specific conversation about women reclaiming their power, refusing to be boxed in.
Yeah. And the endorsements are powerful, too.
Right. You have Donnie Shapiro calling it a powerful howl of honesty, which really highlights that raw authenticity, something maybe her previous persona didn't fully allow for. And Mel Robbins says everyone will find hope and inspiration in these pages. These aren't just generic blurbs, They signal that the book manages to navigate immense pain and arrive at a place of earned wisdom, strength.
So we started with that shocking 2:30 a.m. moment. This catalyst that just blew up a 26-year marriage in this carefully built public life.
Yeah, total detonation.
But out of that explosion, Jen Hatmaker seems to have forged not just a personal survival story, but a really pointed structural critique of the very rules that governed her world.
Yeah.
It's a compelling look at how sometimes personal survival demands deconstruction.
Absolutely. And maybe if this deep dive is about getting knowledge quickly, here's a final thought to chew on. When life forces you to rebuild from the ground up,
Yeah.
how often does the sheer courage needed just to save yourself also demand that you painstakingly take apart the bigger systems around you? The religious rules, the cultural expectations, maybe even family dynamics you were taught were essential for survival.
That's a powerful question.
It really is. It's a profound lesson in finding your own authority, that internal compass, especially when the external world, the maps you were given, they fail you. It requires immense self-discovery.